গাইব হরি নাম সুখে।
তবু তো গাইব হরি নাম সুখে।
তবে তো গাইব হরি নাম সুখে।
অপরাধ বেহারা, অপরাধ বেহারা। Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to Shri Guru. All glories to Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Kashyapasaya Buddha Vishnumadaya Patikas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 37. I'll pull up my phone. I'll just give it to. Okay. So, where is it? 3, 7, 29, 37. Okay. Tubhyam Mad. Okay. Vishikitsayam Atma Me Darshitaha Abahi Nalina Salile Mulam Pushkarasya Vichinvataha Tubhyamadvishikitsayam Atma me darshito bahihi Nalina sadile mulam Pushkarasya vichinvataha Tubhyamadvishikitsayam Atma me darshito bahihi Nalina salile mulam Pushkarasya vichinvataha Tubhyamadvishikitsayam Atma me darshito bahihi Nalina salile mulam Pushkarasya vichinvataha. Please repeat. Tubhyamadvishikitsayam Atma me darshito bahi Nalina salila mulam Pushkarasya vichinvataha Tubhyamadvishikitsayam Atma me darshito bahi Nalina salile mulam Pushkarasya vichinvataha Tubhyamadvishikitsayam Atma me darshito bahi Nalina salile mulam Pushkarasya vichinvataha Tubhyamadvishikitsayam Atma me darshito bahi Nalina salile mulam Pushkarasya vichinvataha. Mothers. Tubhyamat vichikitsayam. Atma me darshito bhai. Nalina salile mulam. Pushkarasha vichinvataha. Tubhyam unto you. Mat me. Vichikitsayam on your trying to know. Atma self. Me of myself. Darshitaha exhibited. Abahi from within. Nalina through the stem. Salile in the water. Mulam root. Pushkarasya of the lotus. The primeval source. Vichinvataha contemplating. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. When you were contemplating whether there was a source to the stem of the lotus of your birth, and you even entered into that stem, you could not trace out anything, but at that time I manifested my form from within. Purport. The personality of Godhead can be experienced only by His causeless mercy, not by mental speculation or with the help of the material senses. Material senses cannot approach the transcendental understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can be appreciated only by submissive devotional service when He reveals Himself before the devotee. Only by love of Godhead can one know God and not otherwise. The personality of Godhead cannot be seen with the material eyes, but He can be seen from within by spiritual eyes opened by the ointment of love of Godhead. As long as one's spiritual eyes are closed due to the dirty covering of matter, one cannot see the Lord. But when the dirt is removed by the process of devotional service, one can see the Lord without a doubt. Brahma's personal endeavor to see the root of the lotus pipe failed, but when the Lord was satisfied by His penance and devotion, He revealed Himself from within with no external endeavor. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivikasa Swaminti Namane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasya Shunyavadi Pasasita Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Tubhyam madvichikitsayam atma me darshito bhaihi nalina salile mulam pushkarasha vichinvataha. When you were contemplating whether there was a source to the stem of the lotus of your birth, and you even entered into that stem, you cannot trace out anything. By that time I manifested my form from within. So this is Lord Krishna speaking to Lord Brahma. And it's interesting. This theme has come up time and time again in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's even come up in this chapter of Lord Brahma on his own endeavor trying to see the Lord, but the Lord, by His causeless mercy, revealing Himself from within. And this particular verse hints at two things mainly that I gathered. One is the importance of penance and the mercy of the Supreme Personality Godhead. And through correct penance, then we can actually gain the mercy of Krishna. We cannot see God by our own vision, as this verse is saying, only by the mercy of Krishna. And this penance, so everything is a chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, I think it's 15. It talks about, I forget what chapter it is, but it talks about like knowledge, not to be known and knowable. So anything that's like this microphone, for example, this is a object. This is something, but the knowledge of how to use that this microphone is inextricably connected with it. So mainly things that's manifested or even unmanifested, there's knowledge that's associated with it. It's just like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You know, it's the knowledge it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then it's knowledge inextricably linked of how to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the knowledge is inextricably linked. So in order to gain Krishna, in order to attain him, inextricably linked with that is the penance to undergo to attain Krishna. And this is all explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Because ultimately, penance is the heart of Krishna. There's actually a verse in the second canto, 2:9-23. It says that, O sinless Brahma, he's speaking to Lord Brahma again, you may know from me that it was I who first ordered you to undergo penance when you were perplexed in your duty. Such penance is my heart and soul, and therefore penance and I are non-different. So, this is very interesting. Krishna says, penance is my heart and soul, therefore penance and I cannot be different. So if you truly want to attain Krishna, you have to undergo the penance to gain his heart, gain his favor. People want to see God, as this verse is talking about, with the material contaminated eyes, but they don't want to go through the necessary steps to attain him. You know, they just want to go to church or go to a temple and pray, but they don't want to actually undergo any type of austerity to attain him. And this penance ultimately is manifested in the bhakta by chanting the glories of Krishna, especially in Kali Yuga. But not only that, the hardest penance, especially in this age, is giving up your material desires. And even as a devotee, we have to go through this necessary penance, because ultimately, if you see Lord Brahma, by his own endeavor, he performed some type of penance, but it was misdirected. He tried to find the root of the cause. It was some type of endeavor, but the problem was it was misdirected. When Krishna saw that, you know, he started to become frustrated in his attempt. Actually, what happened was when Lord Brahma tried to see the stem, he became frustrated, and he came back, and that's when he heard tapa. But you see, a lot of gross materialists and speculators, they will keep going down. They will never give up. They won't give up the endeavor. But Lord Brahma, once Lord Brahma gave up his own attempts to see Krishna, that's when Krishna revealed himself to him. But these gross materialists, they will continue going down this stem of material existence, and they will never surrender to Krishna. And they will further become entangled in perplexities of material life. But once we finally surrender and say, I cannot find the root by myself, I need the mercy of the Lord, then Krishna will make steps to bring us to him. I guess on my own example, I was very confused about God and God consciousness. And I remember I went to the library and I was like, I just want to find a book on God consciousness. They didn't have Bhagavad Gita in that library, but I got some book on like Buddhism. And in that book, it talks about karma, reincarnation. I never really was attuned to any of this. And then once I met the devotees in Piedmont Park, I already kind of knew the essence of like some basis of Eastern philosophy. Of course, Buddhism is Mayavadi, but I was trying to endeavor to find Krishna, and Krishna just manifested himself to me in front of the devotees, in the form of the devotees. So when you're anxiously trying to find Krishna, he will help you attain him when you actually want to. But when you want to find him, when you want to try to find the cause of all causes by your own endeavor and you fail to surrender, then you'll always be perplexed. So we have to remember, we have to ultimately rely on the mercy of Krishna to make advancement in the spiritual life. And ultimately, devotional service, penance, in one sense, devotional service is performed with difficulty. The path of bhakti is charted with thorns. It's not an easy path. Most people don't stay on the path of bhakti because it's performed with difficulty, and Krishna expects you to struggle for him. Krishna is not something cheap. He's like probably use the example of a diamond. This diamond is not a cheap thing, and we have to go through some level of austerity to attain him. And one thing is, we can get conditioned by the mode of goodness, even in Krishna consciousness. We think, when we first come in, wow, I'm peaceful, my mind is calm. And then things start getting difficult, and we start realizing what's going on. Why is things going so difficult? Because we've been conditioned by the mode of goodness. We think that happiness is linked with peace. But ultimately, if you look at the highest devotees, what peace did the highest devotees have? The gopis, what peace did they have? They were constantly in anxiety trying to serve Krishna. Even Lord Chaitanya himself, He was constantly in anxiety trying to relish the mood of Radharani. So what peace is there for a pure devotee? Not material peace. Ultimately, by serving Krishna, you do get spiritual peace, but it's not the peace of material world. It's not the peace of sattva gun. Just sitting there, oh, wow, things are very nice. My mind is calm. Actually, if your mind is calm, then you're not practicing bhakti right. Your mind should always be absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. As a result, you become peaceful, but it's not that our end is for our mind to be peaceful. That's not the end. The end is to love Krishna and be absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. That makes us peaceful, but peace in itself is not the end. And this is when people come into spiritual circles, they have these misconceptions of what peace is. They see us, and they see we're laughing, we're joking around, we're running around in kirtan. They're like, what? These guys don't look peaceful. They look insane. They look mad. Well, we should be mad. His own Bhadvikasa Swami Maharaj was giving this example of this intensity of bhakti, and how Prahlad Maharaj had this intensity to serve Krishna. And it didn't look like he was peaceful. He's getting thrown off a cliff. He's getting jabbed at with these spears. He's getting in so many different calamities. It doesn't look like he's peaceful. How can somebody be happy in such a calamitous situation? It's because he was absorbed in thoughts of Vishnu. Because he was absorbed in thoughts of Vishnu, he performed that penance of remembering Krishna. Penance can come, austerity can come in the process of bhakti, but in this age, it's the best performed by chanting Krishna's holy names and abstaining from from practicing the rules of bhakti. So actually, God's blessing for us is when we don't have peace. That is God's blessing on us, because once we feel like we are peaceful in this material world, we're gonna want to remain in this material world. But he will put us in a state of perplexity for us to want to surrender unto him, like Lord Brahma. Krishna could have just, from the beginning, revealed himself from Lord Brahma. But he didn't. He waited till Lord Brahma became perplexed. And once he put Lord Brahma in the state of perplexity, that's when he revealed himself to him. So Krishna will put us in the state of perplexity for us to remember that this material world is no place for a sane person. And there's actually a verse on this perplexity in the purport in the Bhagavad Gita is 2:7. Prabhupada speaks about this perplexity. Oh no. Let's go back. 2:7. Yeah, so now I'm confused. This is also Arjuna. He was confused. He was perplexed. Arjuna was perplexed. Now I'm confused about my duty. I've lost all composure because of my miserly weakness. Lord Brahma was also facing this same confusion. In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is the best for me. Now I'm your disciple. I so surrender unto you. Please instruct me. Lord Brahma, this is the mood he was imbibing when Krishna instructed him. You see, time again, Krishna shows to different devotees how to approach him. He's showing through Arjuna right here, and he's showing Lord Brahma in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And purport, Prabhupada says, by nature's own way, complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of all life, of life. So this perplexity is a great boon on the conditioned soul. By putting the jiva in a state of perplexity is a boon. But the foolish, those who are kripana, I think that's in this. Yeah, those who are miserly, kripana, those who are miserly, although being perplexed time and time again, they will continuously, by their own endeavor, try to find happiness. They will never surrender to Krishna. But those who have broader intelligence will realize, okay, I'm suffering. Why am I suffering? What is the cause of my suffering? How to get out of my suffering? Those with broader intelligence will come to a level of surrender to Krishna. But surrender first begins with understanding. By your own endeavor, you cannot realize God. By your own endeavor, you cannot do it. You have to realize there's a lot of stuff we cannot understand. So we have to imbibe this mood of this service attitude. Lord Brahma, once he surrendered, Krishna instructed him, perform penance, tapa. And he had a great service attitude. And this is actually mentioned in Mood and Mission, the difference between service and service attitude. You can perform great service. But if your attitude is not proper, then you'll get some benefit, undoubtedly, but the highest goal is love of God. You won't get that. You get love of God by proper service attitude, not the service itself. This is very important. And there's different examples for this. One example is Kolavecha Sridhar. He's a poor brahmana in Mayapur, and he was making banana like cups out of banana leaves, and he would sell them. And if you go to India, you'll see so many people were selling this. Actually, so many people were selling cups with banana leaves or whatever, banana leaves themselves, and you don't really make so much money from it. But he was giving 50% of his income to the service of Ganga Seva. And Lord Chaitanya was so pleased with his service attitude that he would personally come see him every day. The Lord saw him this poor brahmana. He wasn't doing, what service was he doing really? He was only making some banana leaves and selling, or cups out of banana leaves and selling and giving 50% to the Ganga. But he had a great service attitude. And this service attitude was so potent and powerful that it attracted Krishna himself. So you can perform great service. And you see, even in our movement, like Harikesh Maharaj, for example, he did tremendous service for the movement, tremendous service. And this lecture Guru Maharaj gives, the Fall Down Harikesh, and he was doing service, and he made a lot of disciples. Even in this book, you read Salted Bread, and if you read that book, you realize how surrendered his disciples were to him. They were so surrendered unto him, but. Well, Harikesh Maharaj talks about how he was disturbed. Although he was performing his service, he didn't have that proper service attitude. And because of a lack of proper service attitude, he eventually fell away. So better than the service itself is the service attitude. And we can cultivate the service attitude by ultimately understanding what the purpose of bhakti is. It's easy to get distracted by because it says when you practice bhakti, you get artha, kama, moksha, and dharma. You get these as a byproduct. And you might get some economic development. You might get some religiosity. You might get some artha, whatever. And you can, if you lose sight of the goal of bhakti, then you can become bewildered by the byproducts of it. So what happens is when you don't have and from the very beginning, we have to cultivate a proper service attitude. From the very beginning is very important, because if not, we can perform, like I said, tremendous service, and we can still be susceptible of falling away because of a bad attitude. And you see Jayananda Prabhu, is an anecdote where he couldn't pronounce the Gayatri mantra proper. Prabhupada even laughed. And I think he asked, because I'm not pronouncing it right, Prabhupada, am I like, I forget the whole context. I'm not going to speculate. But the point of the conversation is Prabhupada said, because you're trying to serve Krishna, he's pleased with you. Because you're making the sincere desire to. If you think about it, we're making so many mistakes in the path of bhakti. Like deity worshiping Prabhupada, even chanting our rounds. Myself, I mispronounce the mantra so many times. Or I'm committing offenses to devotees or whatever. But if you have a proper service attitude, Krishna can exempt you from your misgivings or your shortcomings. So it's very important. Lord Brahma, you're seeing this right here. Lord Brahma had a proper service attitude, and Krishna is saying, because he had this, he said that because when the Lord was satisfied by his penance and devotion, so when Lord is satisfied by your devotion, your service attitude, and your endeavor, then he will reveal himself to you. So it's both. It's not that you just sit there and wait for the mercy. No, you have to perform some endeavor. And you do that endeavor with the proper service attitude. This is how you attract the mercy of Krishna. Like I said, ultimately, Samshir. What's that? Yeah. I just want to make sure I pronounce it properly. I'm not gonna type the whole verse. But anyways, Samshir Hari Toshanam. I was going to try to quick. Yeah, Samshir Hari Toshanam. So the goal of our works is what? Samshir Hari Toshanam. Is to please Krishna. That is the purpose of all our works, all our duties, is to please Krishna. Samshir Hari Toshanam. Lord Brahma wanted to please Krishna. because he wanted to. We read a couple verses ago. He wanted to help Krishna in the manifestation of the material world and sub-creating it. He wanted that. He had a pure desire to do so. But he understood that it wasn't him doing it, it was Krishna, and he knew that Krishna would be pleased by him if he acted as an instrument for Krishna. So I'm sure how you told him, all our work should be directed towards pleasing Krishna, and by pleasing Krishna, we ourselves are pleased. It's not a separate endeavor. But we have to perform that penance, that tapasa, that we have to perform that penance to get that mercy. And Jiva Goswami actually says in his Sandarbha that ultimately we have to be free from desires to real. That's what real austerity, real tapasya is giving up material desires. Ultimately, this is real. Austerity is giving up these material desires. And Jiva Goswami says that desirelessness means one should feel happy only by experiencing the happiness of Krishna. So this is real desirelessness. When we are only satisfied, when we put our own satisfaction to the side for the satisfaction of Krishna, this is real desirelessness. And in that mood, we can perform proper penance and austerity. So, and you see, many people actually, they perform penance. Actually, you're performing penance in one way or other. People are working or whatever, students are studying. They're performing penance one way or other, but they're just misdirected. And ultimately, our prime duty, like I said, is to become a kama, is to set aside our own material desires for satisfaction of Krishna. And the thing is, like I said, people in this material world, even when some people, when they commit abominable activities, they actually feel remorseful for it, and they want to actually relieve themselves of that situation, but they don't have the proper means of doing so. A couple examples is, so it was a case the other day that I wasn't working, a prosecutor was, but this teacher, he was like 40 years old, and it was a student, she was 16. And he would, like, when she came in the classroom, he would like touch her hair, and he would like make like obscene remarks to her, and then it escalated to the point where he sent her an Instagram post of like people like talking about like sexual activities or something like that. And she was 16 years old, and she reported him. He got fired, and then in court yesterday, his attorney was saying he's very remorseful for what he did, and he wants to put all this behind him. And he had his fiance in court, and he also had his like 2-year-old baby with him. And the judge sent him to jail, I think, for like 12 days or something like that. And you see that, not only that, like one of my prosecutors, I didn't work the case, but somebody else, they sentenced him to like some sexual training class or something like that, and you can't be on Instagram for a period of time. And I was just thinking that ultimately, even when people make these mistakes, even they feel remorseful for it, the only solution actually is Krishna consciousness. There's no other solution besides Krishna consciousness to relieve us of these perplexities in material existence. There's no other solution. Another example, I was outside chanting. I told a couple devotees about this, and this guy came up, and he was super disturbed. He just randomly, he said, do you know what is the purpose of life? Super random. It was so random. And we were just talking, and then he was saying that I keep committing sin time and time again. I keep committing sin. I keep doing sinful activities. And I wasn't really trying to get too much into it. I was like, yeah, I know that's the nature of the, but we have to surrender to God. That's the way to purify it. And then he opened up to me. He said, I don't know you, but I feel like I need to tell you this. And he was saying that, just earlier, before he saw me, he had an illicit affair with a random person, and he felt really regretful about it. And I told him, ultimately, if you're not surrendered to Krishna, then you're going to continue making the same mistake. You're going to continue making the same mistake. And you see that people, after performing abominable activities, those with some decent heart will feel bad about it. But they don't know the solution. They think the solution is to just abstain, like Bhoga Tyaga. Okay, I'm just not going to do it. but then you're still contemplating on it. So that's not the solution. They think the solution is, oh, maybe I'll just do a class to help me. None of this therapy, none of this will help you. None of this will help you. People classify Christian consciousness as an alternative religion. But there is no alternative, actually. We're not an alternative religion. We're not an alternative sect. This is reality. There's no alternative to Christian consciousness. There's no alternative to rectifying our misdeeds. There's no alternative besides full surrender to Christian. There is no other alternative. And the thing is, as long as we get bewildered by the goal of life and the goal of our works, we will continue making the same mistakes time and time again. But we have to perform that penance, the austerity. And thing is, it's not, especially in modern days, people aren't attracted to the idea of surrender to God. People don't want to surrender to God. People want God to surrender to them. People want God to surrender to their own whims. People want God to surrender to their own ideals of who God is. People will speculate about God, and they will convince other people about their speculations. But they don't want to surrender to God. Everything has already been chalked out, like I was saying, that God has already chalked out a plan to attain him. We don't have to speculate about it. He's already given us the path of it. It's inextricably linked with him. What's linked with him is the penance to attain him. That's how we attain Krishna. So, ultimately, when we fully give ourselves to the process of Krishna consciousness, then what happens is Krishna's mercy will begin to manifest in our lives, but it might not manifest in the way that we see it. And Krishna's mercy manifests in sometimes putting you in, like I said, in a perplexing situation. But those who are advanced can realize that this is a working of God that's in my life. This is why I'm suffering, is because God is trying to purify my conditioned desire to stay in this material world. But when that mercy comes, then we can fully see God, as it's saying in this verse. And there's actually another verse that talks about this mercy of Krishna, and how the thing is, we cannot get the mercy of Krishna unless Krishna sees that he's satisfied in our works. And once Krishna is satisfied in our works, he will bestow his mercy on us. And it's a similar verse as I'm speaking on today. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Person God are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. So we have to be favored by even a slight trace of mercy of the lotus feet of Krishna and his representatives. That's why I wanted to sing that song, Guru Dev, Kripa Bindu, that ultimately the devotee should always feel that he's useless without the mercy of his guru. We should always feel that sense of dependence on the mercy of our guru, that ultimately we're only here by the mercy of our guru, and we're only making advancement by the mercy of our guru. And we don't get the mercy necessarily just by being in the presence of the guru. We can, but better than that is to apply his instructions in our life. This is the real manifestation of the guru's mercy. And the thing is, if we don't understand the position of the guru in relation to Krishna, then we can't fully avail ourselves of the mercy. And I was reading Buddha Mission, it was talking about how, I forget, one of Prabhupada's disciples was talking about how they saw Prabhupada as a modern day saint. And his position as a saint was greater than seeing him as God. Because when you see somebody, just Jiva walking, you say he's God, then you would think, oh, maybe he's so supreme. I would never be able to attain what he's having because he's God. But by seeing Prabhupada as a saint, then if you think about it, what modern day saints do we have? I was thinking about that. Like, okay, we have Mother Teresa, but she wasn't, if you really think about it, she's giving meat and abominable things to people. So what others, is there any other saints? No, he's not no saint. Come on. Huh?
So many saints in the Catholic tradition.
Yeah, it's saints in the Catholic tradition. It's saints, but then you see even the Catholic tradition, so Catholicism, one thing about Catholicism that they do recognize the position of saint and saintly people, but then the saintly people are still doing abominable stuff like what?
He said that Pope The Pope would be disqualified.
Yeah. Just by his breakfast, right? Just by looking at the Pope's breakfast, he would be disqualified by being considered a saint. Yeah, there's no real modern day saints in the true sense of the term. But if you examine Prabhupada, people automatically saw that he was different than most religious leaders. He had no ambition for himself, and you look at his every day he would sacrifice his own sleep, his own time. I don't know. He was running a whole organization and still simultaneously writing letters to like I don't know, hundreds of disciples a day. Prabhupada, in the true sense of the term, was a saint. Nonetheless, he expected us to be saints. Prabhupada expected us to come to a higher standard. He never expected us to remain hippies, but we're not hippies anymore. But he never expected his early disciples to remain like that. He instituted a way for them to gradually become pure devotees. And I was listening to a lecture by His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, and he was saying that actually, in the strict sense of the term Vaishnava, to be a Vaishnava, all Vaishnavas can be considered a guru, even if you're not in the position of accepting disciples. Guru Maharaj is making the interesting point that all Vaishnavas can be considered a guru in the strict sense if you're truly a Vaishnava, because everything you're saying is what Krishna is saying. Everything you're saying is what the predecessor acharyas are saying. So, in the strict sense of the term, if you're true Vaishnava, you're only saying and you're repeating what Krishna has said and what the previous acharyas have said. So, and the Vaishnavas are considered, they're supposed to come to a platform of saintliness. And we're expected to come to this standard. It is hard. It's hard to be saintly in our dealings. Nonetheless, by proper penance and the mercy of Krishna, we can get there. And we receive the mercy when we comply with the plans of Krishna. When we act according to the will of Krishna, then we will be fit candidates for the mercy. And Prabhupada speaks about this actually, cooperating with the plans of Krishna in this purport. Actually, this is a pretty interesting verse. Drona, Bhishma, Jayadrata, Karna, and the other great warriors have already been destroyed by me. Therefore, kill them and do not be disturbed. Simply fight, and you will vanquish your enemies in battle. Prabhupada says, every plan is made by the Supreme Personality Godhead, but he is so kind and merciful to his devotees that he wants to give the credit to his devotees who carry out his plan according to his desire. Life should therefore move in such a way that everyone acts in Krishna consciousness and understands the Supreme Personality Godhead through the medium of the spiritual master. The plans of the Supreme Personality Godhead are understood by his mercy, and the plans of the devotees are as good as his plans. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle of existence. This is very interesting. Prabhupada is saying that the plans of the devotees are as good as the plans of Krishna. That's very interesting, because Prabhupada had a plan for the Krishna consciousness movement. He had a plan of the direction he wanted to go. And, Krishna says, Chartur Varnam Maya Shreshtam, that these 4 Varnas are created by him. And Prabhupada similarly said, 50% of my mission is not complete. This is a plan of Prabhupada to reestablish Varnashram Dharma. But because we're not complying with the will of Prabhupada, we're not receiving his full mercy. Because we're not receiving his full mercy, you're seeing there's so many discrepancies within the ISKCON movement. Because we're not submitting to the will of Prabhupada and to his plan. Nor do we even know what the plan of Prabhupada is. We endorse our own plans, and then we subscribe that to this is what Prabhupada wants. Is mentioned in the movie mission that Prabhupada, he spoke about Gurukul extensively, but then I think occasionally once or twice he talked about having a school in India for rich children of Indian families, and they can learn English there or something like that. And people are endorsing that. Yeah, we should have, Prabhupada said we should have schools in India for the rich Indian children, but they don't want to talk about the Gurukul because they don't know what the plan of Prabhupada is. They don't know what Prabhupada wanted for the movement. And because they don't know what Prabhupada wanted for the movement, you're seeing that so many people in the West are just not becoming devotees. The mercy is there. The mercy is always there, but like it's saying right here, the plans of the Supreme Personality are understood by his mercy. And it's saying right here, the plans of the Supreme Personality are understood by his mercy. And like I said previously, we only attain his mercy by proper penance and austerity. So we have to avail ourselves by of the mercy first by rejecting this animal civilization. We have to reject it. This animal civilization is conditioning us to think that living a natural life is not possible. Even me myself, I have little faith in the fact that we can live harmoniously with nature. I have little faith in it because I've been so conditioned by this animal civilization that, oh, we have to get our stuff from the grocery store. We have to do this. We have to do that. We have to be in the city. I'm so conditioned by this. And it takes a lot, actually, to reform your consciousness. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of surrender to actually completely avail yourself to the mercy of Prabhupada's plans. Because the thing is, we can worship Krishna. There's actually demons worship Krishna. There's a Jarasandha. He worshiped Krishna in the form of Shalagram Shila. He was a demon. He was worshiping Krishna, but when Krishna presented himself before him, he tried to kill him. Similarly, there are some Jarasandhas in the movement where the plan of Krishna is being manifested and they're trying to kill it. They're trying to stop Varnashram Dharma. They're trying to stop, even though they're worshiping Krishna in the temple. But when Krishna's plans are starting to become manifested to them, they want to kill it. It's very interesting, actually, you know. And the thing is, for us to fully grasp the idea of full surrender, first we have to be submissive and humble and meek, as this verse is saying. Not only that, we have to seek that place where there's no return to top. Padam tat parimargita vimesmin gadana navartante buyatam eva chajam purusham papate yata pravati prasata parani. That we should parimargita. We should seek that place where we're going. There's no return. We should seek this place because this place that we're here we're always going to be returning. A cycle of birth and death. The place we're in right now, we're continuously struggling with perplexities. But when we seek that place, parimargitavyam, then we can come to a level of understanding how to attain it. And when we come to the level of how to attain it, then we can perform our duties in such a way that's pleasing to Krishna. Samsiddhi Hari Toshanam, that we can act in a way that's pleasing towards Krishna. Ultimately, Krishna wants to be pleased with us and he wants to avail us of his mercy. But because we're misguided by this animalistic civilization, we're becoming cut off from the mercy. And because we're being cut off from the mercy, we're concocting our own ideas and plans for what Krishna wants for us. Krishna ultimately wants us to surrender, but we do it through the medium of the spiritual master. And like I said, we have to perform that endeavor, that austerity to serve Krishna. And this endeavor has to be proper. There's different types of intelligence. You have lazy intelligence. You have active intelligence. You have lazy ignorance and then active ignorance. So you'll see that you can be in Krishna consciousness and you're working in active ignorance. For example, the Ritvik-vadis. Okay, they're very active. They're very active in their dealings. They're very active. They're going out. They're giving Prabhupada's books. But because they don't recognize the pure devotees and disciples of Prabhupada, and they're offending and they're saying they're not fit to have disciples, that's ignorant. It's ignorant. So they're acting in active ignorance. And Prabhupada said this active ignorance is dangerous. It's actually better to be lazy and ignorant than active and ignorant. Because when you're active and ignorant, what happens is you're pervading this and it becomes pernicious, not only to yourself but to others. So when we're acting in Krishna consciousness, we should do it with proper intelligence. The best is lazy intelligence, where we're able to cultivate Krishna consciousness and also able to perform our duty. But sometimes we have to have a little active intelligence. Nonetheless, once we realize the plans of Krishna and we surrender to it, then we can fully avail ourselves of the mercy. So I'll stop my class here and open up for like corrections, comments, questions, anything like that.
Hare Krishna. You said a statement which I found really profound and great great quote, Navani-Hoda Prabhu. Real happiness is experiencing the happiness of Krishna. And I wanted to read something from the Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada writes in the introduction, the living entities like the Lord are full of consciousness, and they are after happiness. The Lord is perpetually happy, and if the living entities associate with the Lord, cooperate with Him, and take part in His association, then they also become happy. So just like you stick an iron rod in fire, eventually it'll act like fire. So similarly, by associating with the Supreme Lord who's actually happy, that's where we get our happiness. Whereas if we're not associating with Krishna, then we can't be happy. And I was thinking that this is like intrinsic to Krishna consciousness in itself. We become conscious of Krishna. What does that mean? That means remembering His transcendental form, pastimes, and activities, and just observing how happy He is, and seeing how happy He is, and trying to play our little part in giving Him happiness also. And then that's the perfection of our lives, to be engaged in that way. And we're just like, we're not the primary enjoyers, but we're just sub-enjoyers. We're actually concerned with Krishna's happiness, and we become happy simply just by seeing how Krishna's happy. And Shitala Mataji, in her talk, she was reflecting on how when things were really rough in France, the temple, New Mayapur, things were really rough there, and barely anybody was coming to the temple. They were even thinking about selling the place. But nonetheless, the pujaris, they would prepare and decorate the deities just like there were 200 people coming for darshan, but maybe only 2 would show up. But still they prioritized Krishna's enjoyment and decorated the altar so beautifully. And she was glorifying in them that way, and that's pretty profound, and that takes some faith to worship the deity to that level. But yeah, just reflecting on happiness in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, and I'm not going to take credit for that. Srila Jiva Goswami said that. He said that real desirelessness means experiencing the happiness of Krishna, and not trying to experience your own happiness, but experiencing the happiness of Krishna. I just kind of broke it down a little more. But yeah, it's a good point though. That well, who's this? Shitala. Where is she?
She's in Mayapur.
She said only 2 people came for darshan.
Oh no, this is in France. New Mayapur.
No.
In France. In the 80s, yeah.
Yeah, and you see actually back in the early days of ISKCON, devotees were like so bright-faced, even though like even in the Mayapur project, they had like so much austerity they had to go through. Like it was like no running water, and it was like, especially in India, when the rainy season, you have all these diseases coming and stuff like that. It's like, it's really austere. And their endeavor doesn't go in vain. Those devotees, those early devotees in Mayapur that established that center, because ultimately they were getting some happiness from doing that. But like I said, happiness is inextricably linked with penance. It's not, you have to perform some penance to even get that, but that's not our goal. We will have it, but that's not necessarily the goal of, Prabhupada does say chant and be happy, but Prabhupada also says the ultimate goal of life is to love Krishna. And happiness is a byproduct. The more we try to strive for happiness, the more frustrated we become, actually. But when we strive to just make Krishna happy, automatically we become happy. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, when you talk about saints, I was just thinking how fortunate we are. Like, in one way, we did just miss out on, like, Srila Prabhupada, but now, our own spiritual master, of course, and then, I was reflecting, Shiva Maharaj is coming, Mukunda Datta Prabhu, Brigapati Prabhu, all these devotees who come here, and they're so accessible. They're willing to have open conversations with us. We have access to their WhatsApp numbers. These are like, if we give Jesus is like elevated in the world
Yeah.
today, but like Prabhupada, like what's the difference? You
Yeah.
know, like it made greater, you know, and like his servants are still here. We just have like direct access to them. It's like really crazy, and one's like living, you know, right next door, and like
Yes.
we like
Really
nobody knows. Like people just walk down the street, and like nobody like knows like like one of the most powerful personalities in the world's like right in these doors, like right now. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Like nobody can recognize like the potency of a devotee, like just by being an association devotee. Like you can make so much advancement. I remember when I first joined, I went to Europe, and I remember just being with Maharaj like a lot. Like bhakti just becomes easier. It just becomes easier when you're with like a pure devotee, a saint. And early Prabhupada's disciples would say that too, that just being around Prabhupada, that they were able to like experience Krishna's mercy just by being around him. But it is true that, you know, the association of the saint is very good impetus for our spiritual life, but better is actually to remember him, because just how Krishna is inextricably linked with his paraphernalia, his pastimes, entourage. Same thing with the spiritual master. I was thinking about that, like, you know, when we go on the altar, we have a picture of our guru, and it's like, okay, the guru is here and he's also there. It's still kind of bewildering me. I really don't still get it, I'll be honest, but I have faith that, you know, the gurus all can exist in the picture form and also in the form of, you know, in front of us. You know, and it's interesting because it's like, you know, just by remembering, you know, like the guru or saintly person, you actually become like happy and content just by remembering like their activities or their instructions. Like it's like practical, you know. But yeah, it's a good point. It's like no real saints in this world besides the devotees. Okay, anybody else? All right. Majis.
What's the balance between wanting to do your service nicely and also like not being attached to the results? Like, how do you prevent that?
Well, ultimately, we have to realize what we're doing our service for. We're doing our service for the pleasure of Krishna. The reason why we become attached to results because we want people to glorify us for doing that service. So when we become immune to the glorification that comes with our service, then we won't become attached to the results. Because ultimately, when you're doing some good service, glorification will come. You know, whether you're playing mridanga or leading kirtan, you know, or cooking or whatever, you're like, it's like subtle, subconsciously, you're like looking for some type of glorification. And so because of that, you become attached to results. But when you perform that service solely for the pleasure of Krishna, then, you know, as long as Krishna is happy, then that's all you really care about. And Krishna is mainly happy with just that service attitude. So the service attitude, like I said, just comes by understanding that, you know, the goal of life is to please Krishna. And when you have that goal in mind constantly fixed on understanding that, then when you're performing your service, whether people like what you're doing or not, devotees per se, if Krishna is pleased with your activities, then you won't be attached. Ultimately, real detachment just comes from being attached to serving Krishna. So, yeah. Anybody else want to say something about that? Yeah.
Is the satisfaction of the devotees, though, an indication of Krishna's pleasure? Like, how do you know that Krishna's pleased?
Yeah. Ultimately, yeah. I think somebody asked Prabhupada that. And you know Krishna is pleased when you're making advancement in Krishna consciousness. One way to understand that Krishna is pleased with your activities is you start becoming more and more disgusted with material life because he's bestowing his mercy upon you. So yes, the satisfaction of devotees is a manifestation of that. I mean, if you're displeased with devotees, then Krishna is obviously not happy. If you please the devotees, then yes, Krishna is happy. But yeah, we should strive to please Krishna and devotees, but we shouldn't seek glorification for doing so. So when we perform that seva of whatever, doing service for Krishna and the devotees, do it in a mindset of doing only for their pleasure. Once you want to get some glorification from that, then yeah, you'll become attached to it. You'll become attached every single time you have even a slight inclination on wanting to get glorified for their service. So you have to remove that. But yes, a symptom of somebody pleasing Krishna is you become more and more disgusted in material life. Krishna, what? He gives you knowledge, detachment, and renunciation. It said this in the Bhagavatam, by love of Krishna, naturally knowledge, detachment, and renunciation, these come as a byproduct. So when you see yourself getting more and more disgusted in material life and more attached to the process of Krishna consciousness, then you know Krishna is pleased with you. That's his mercy. His mercy is you being disgusted with material life. That is his mercy on you. But even if, the thing is, Krishna is ultimately pleased if we just stick in the association of devotees and we're not offending them. Even if we're not able to have pure desires, if we just stay in association of devotees and don't offend them, Krishna is going to be pleased with us. Yeah, Krishna is not like a tyrant. It's not so hard to please Krishna, actually. Yeah. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.